None of these storylines make any sense. Is this working for you?
No, I don't want to hear it. You walked into a building with a bomb in it. Because you've been treating me like some weak, scared little kid.
I mean, yeah, who wouldn't believe this person was naturally a hard-bitten New York cop? Gotham Knights started out by bumping off Batman in episode 1, and it's part of an ongoing trend of Marvel and DC bumping off and trying to replace their much-loved legacy characters. Some of it may be down to money and copyrights, and some of it seems to be ideological, like this trailer for the upcoming DC Blue Beetle film.
Whoa, it's like Batman stuff. Batman's a fascist. I just want to rap.
And who thought that was a good idea? It's all a bit of a f*** up really, isn't it? Who greenlit that? There is so much wrong with this statement, I barely know where to begin. Warner, this is one of your most valuable properties you're allowing to be degraded here, and it's being done in one of your films, presumably for some cheap publicity. If I had stock in Warner, I'd be selling it now. I went to try and find the justification for people making this what I will overly generously allow to be called an argument. The argument seems to boil down to Batman being authoritarian. The problem seems to be that the people making this statement don't know what a fascist is, and I doubt they could pick one out of an identity parade, even if they came complete with jackboots and a Hugo Boss suit. Batman isn't a fascist. Authoritarian and fascist are not the same thing. There were authoritarians long before fascism existed as a doctrine. A litany of despots and kings were all authoritarian long before the Austrian painter's dad even got a twinkle in his eye. Under that definition, Stalin would be a fascist, you certifiable idiots. The education system has failed us, I'm afraid, and probably by design. There is a problem that superhero media is being written by people who seem to hate the characters they're writing as well as their audience, and they seem to genuinely identify more with the villains than they do the heroes, more with the criminals than the people trying to stop the criminals, and the problem traces right back to their worldview. Are there times when a criminal act is justified? I would say arguably yes. Maybe if a law is unjust or undemocratic, after all, is it moral to follow every law imposed from above by a dictator? But let's not fool ourselves, Robin Hood is not the same as the Joker. Taking from a corrupt tax collector in order to feed the poor and starving is not the same as bumping off civilians for personal fun and laughs, or stealing a $1,400 jacket from a store because you want it. People have agency. People can be better than that, and they should be. But in a world where victimhood is currency, a criminal with enough victimhood points can be judged to be more virtuous than a non-criminal without them. And that's written very much into this episode. This is a recipe for anarchy and misery, and the utopia these people seek will sadly always be one more minority-owned business burnt in a riot away. Anyway, enough ranting. Let's get digging into this steaming pile of stupid. They barely do anything that isn't stupidly written in this entire episode. The acting is still fine. There's even one great performance in it, but that doesn't save it. The episode is a convoluted mess of writing, so bear with me. Last episode, I criticised the show heavily for the Knights sending Deadname with his repeatedly breaking voice into the police station dressed as a cop.
No, I don't want to hear it. You walked into a building with a bomb in it.
Despite being the subject of an active manhunt. And you'll never guess what the Knights do in this episode. They do it again. The writers don't seem to care at all. Did the police not even notice the missing files? At the start of the episode, there's a black guy in a smart suit running in a park and looking crazy. A police officer arrives because the man is scaring people, and this happens.
Sir, calm down. Did you see him over there? See what? Nothing there.
Suit guy points and says "over there" to the cop, and the officer turns his back and lets his weapon get taken, and this results in the suit guy bumping himself off. And man does this show hate cops. At first I assumed that this scene was just happening, but no, this was in fact a flashback, and the show didn't bother to tell the audience when this was or who the person in the suit was. They only explain a quarter of an hour later that this happened a month or so before the main plot. Meanwhile, at stately Gotham Academy, the Knights are still hiding out, and Deadname has stolen a cake from the teacher's lounge. It seems unlikely that no one would notice that cake going missing, or that any would be left at the end of the day unattended. But that's far less silly than what happens next. Deadname chooses to cut the cake with the knife that the assassin attacked them with in the previous episode. And my first thought was, I hope that knife that you got from the assassin isn't poisoned. And the Knights later found out that it in fact was. And I'm trying hard not to explode at how stupid that was. They had evidence in the form of this knife, and instead of using it to prove their innocence, they used it to cut a cake. The files the Knights stole from the police station showed strange cross-shaped marks on the victims in the photos, and entirely by accident, they noticed that the marks correspond to the tip of the knife belonging to the Talon, the assassin for the shadowy Court of Owls. They only notice because Turner accidentally drops the knife point down on a wooden floor. So they send Deadname into Gotham PD again, and you have to be kidding me. The police have no security on their servers at all. Deadname just walks in and plugs a USB stick into their server. All they needed was some coffee for the guy on the front desk and a fake moustache. The last victim with the same marks was Suit Guy from the park, who went by the ostentatious name of Pericles Jones and was Bruce Wayne's lawyer who knew too much. Turner and Deadname's sister then go to Pericles' house to look for clues, and Deadname's sister has a grudge now against Stephanie, the 29-year-old schoolgirl.
Okay, what is it you have against Stephanie? Look, it just seems like you two are a lot alike.
And if I just had a celebrity dad and a multi-million-dollar trust fund, we could be twinsies.
She doesn't like Stephanie because Stephanie has a rich father and a trust fund. That backstory and past makes Stephanie privileged, and Deadname's sister just can't live with that. And this is a woman that has no problem working with the Joker's daughter. The writers see more of a stigma in having a rich father than being the daughter of a mass murdering psychopath, so Stephanie is worthless until later on in the episode when we find out that her parents were abusive to her. Ergo, plus 69 victim points for Stephanie, so she now gets to be one of the cool 29-year-old kids and a real human after all. These people are in a cult. This is sounding increasingly like the Church of Scientology with victimhood instead of thetans. This lead takes the Knights to Pericles' son, who sends them looking for Bruce Wayne's will that seems to have resulted in Pericles and Bruce Wayne's end. The will apparently did not disinherit Turner, so the will would disprove Turner's alleged motive in offing Batman. Pericles was trying to show this when the Owls bumped him off, so the Knights find this out, as well as the fact that they seemingly ate cake cut up with a knife coated in the same unspecified neurotoxin that poisoned Pericles Jones, who now sounds like a character from Dolomite. Meanwhile, Juella recognises the assassin's knife from a book she once read in her childhood, and this is not a good plot device at all. I mean, what are the chances that Juella's father the Joker would give her that one specific book to read that she'd remember decades later, and it's linked to an executed murderous knife thrower from a century ago? So Juella and Batgirl go to a retirement home to see the knife thrower's elderly surviving daughter to try and get information, but all they get in the end is a stolen music box that the lady claims her long dead father just gave to her. Juella and Batgirl dress up as schoolgirls to get into the old folks' home, and this is happening so often. I'm wondering if the writers have a creepy thing for schoolgirls. It's not even a normal schoolgirl outfit, it's like a Catholic schoolgirl outfit, complete with pleated skirt, and I would not be surprised if these writers were on some kind of register. So they go to get info from the old lady, and the actress looks strangely familiar to me. IMDb was no help whatsoever because this part wasn't listed in the cast, so it took some thought, and then I remembered where I knew her from. She was Lambert in the 1979 film Alien, played by Veronica Cartwright, and she's a class act still. Far too good for this show, frankly. She is playing a kindly elderly lady that turns cruel and sinister when she realises what the girls are really there for, and she puts on a masterclass in this. It's just a shame the script she was working on is so bad, and she starts ranting about the supposedly super secret Court of Owls in the middle of an old folks home hallway. And how have this lot remained secret? They leave 3rd century gold coins around as calling cards, and those coins alone would be worth a fortune. Everyone would know who the owls were. They barely hide at all. Turner then goes to see Cressida in the hope of finding Bruce Wayne's will, and Batgirl meanwhile fingerprints the stolen music box. It has Juella's fingerprints all over it, and they find a ridiculous police photo of Juella from her fingerprints that would never be allowed on the record with her making that face. And they also find the fingerprints of the supposedly executed knife thrower who's supposed to have been hung a century or so ago. They then find that the music boxes were being delivered to the old people's home by Cressida Clark, the replacement Alfred. And what sense does that make? The Owls are the worst secret organisation I have ever seen. They could have just mailed the music boxes to her. Why have them hand-delivered by someone that would lead right back to them? The Knights call Turner to warn him about Cressida, but it's already too late. Cressida has returned, armed. But Turner snatches the weapon from her, and then the Court of Owls all come in wearing ridiculous masks and offer to recruit Turner into their group. So, why did Cressida come in with a weapon? What was her motive? What was her plan? Why did she come in armed when the Owls were about to arrive and intended to try and recruit Turner? I can think of no reason that makes any sense. Come to think of it, how did the Owls get there so fast when Turner going back to stately Wayne Manor was not expected? Why did the Owls come in at all after Turner was armed and he could have ended the people who offed his father? Turner refuses the Owls' offer when they demand he turn over the other Knights as part of their deal. The Talon then bursts into the room to end Turner, and Turner fires at the bulletproof guy instead of the not bulletproof Owls. The Owls then run off, and Turner is saved by Robin, who also got there extremely quickly. Robin blows the Talon up again, and any idea of this guy being a threat is long gone now. He just turns up in the episodes and loses repeatedly, like Kylo Ren from Star Wars. The show tells us a lot about how formidable this guy is, how formidable the Owls are, and then never really shows it. So far, the Talon ended a couple of unarmed men in this series and bumped off Batman off screen. And how much heat could this series have gotten if the Talon had been shown on screen ending Batman? Have Talon show up like the Terminator throughout the series, causing the Knights to have to run or barely hold their own, and save his defeat for the season finale instead of having him be defeated every other episode. This show has no idea how to build up to an effective crescendo. The Owls also appear to be trying to frame Harvey Dent for the bumping off of the mayor last episode by planting evidence again, including a key to the vehicle the mayor popped it in inside Harvey Dent's jacket. And this episode was a mess. This is approximating Mandalorian levels of stupid now. What a waste of money and acting talent.
Those look good. A big salty clam would sure go great with this heat.